Good afternoon. My name's Alan Mayer. I'm a retired parish priest from the Church of England, and I'm leading us through the Bible, looking at different themes in it. And we're going to try and do the whole thing in 365 Bible studies, each one lasting around 5 to 10 minutes. Today we're on day 24. We are looking at disaster stories and natural wonders in the Bible. And we've just reached the New Testament, and we're going to start on day 24 with Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 to 12. And we're going to ask ourselves what we know about the Star of Bethlehem. Once Jesus had been born in Bethlehem in Judea in the days of King Herod, unexpectedly, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem. They were saying, "Where is the one born to be King of the Jews? For we saw his star rising in the east, and we have come to pay him our respects." But having heard King Herod was anxious, and all Jerusalem with him, and having assembled all the high priests and the people's scribes, he asked them where the anointed one was to be born. So they said to him, "In Bethlehem in Judea, because it has been written by the prophet like this, and you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, in no way are you insignificant amongst those who govern Judah. Out from you shall go a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi to a secret meeting. He asked them for the exact time of the star's appearing. Then he sent them to Bethlehem and said to them, "When you get there, make careful inquiries for the young child. And when you have located him, bring word back to me, so that I also may come and pay him my respects." Having listened to the king, they left. And look, the star which they had seen at its rising was still there in front of them until they arrived, and it was standing above where the little child was. Seeing the star, they celebrated with overwhelming joy. And when they came into the house, they discovered the little child with Mary his mother. Then they paid him their respects. Then they opened their treasures and offered him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And having been divinely instructed in a dream not to return to Herod, they withdrew towards their own country on a different road. Back in the 1st century, astronomy and astrology were still intricately interwoven, and events in the sky were often interpreted as signs of one kind or another for us on Earth. The two ways of looking at the stars did not really begin to separate until the Renaissance, when Galileo turned his telescope on Jupiter. 17th century astronomer royal John Flamsteed, for all his scientific prowess, still cast horoscopes for his sponsors. The Magi, or wise men, were not kings, but probably Zoroastrian scholars, who were well known for their wisdom and were employed across the empire as advisors in scientific, administrative, and mathematical matters. Matthew, who wrote this gospel, was not adept in astronomy, and the story in his gospel makes that clear. Stars are fixed and appear to circle the spinning earth once every 24 hours or so. Astrologers concentrate on the anomalies, on the planets and comets, which are much closer to Earth and orbit the sun. They move against the background of the fixed stars and sometimes line up in what is known as a conjunction. Might it have been such a conjunction that they saw rising? Such a thing did happen twice within the decade of Christ's birth, in 6 BC and again in 2 to 3 BC. For details, see the Wikipedia article on the Star of Bethlehem. Other possibilities include the arrival of Halley's Comet in 12 BC, or a supernova, an exploding star whose remains are there as a pulsar today, but we know that it exploded in 4 BC. But maybe it wasn't something in the sky, but in the atmosphere. Matthew describes it as a star-like object that moves until it comes to rest over the house where they are staying. We would call this kind of thing a UFO, and for sure we do not know what these objects are or where they come from. Our faith today does not include astrology, horoscopes, or UFOs, and we do not rely on them for evidence of God's work or God's will. Jesus promised us the gift of the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of wisdom and truth. We should seek what is true by using the intelligence that God has given us and improve on the insights of the Magi in history. Thank you for being here and listening to this. Tomorrow is day 25, and we're going to be looking at a story in St. Luke's Gospel where maybe an earthquake certainly made the Tower of Siloam collapse. See you tomorrow.